What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Hockey Town University. You're here with me once again, Zach, and his lovely co-hosts, Derek and Matt. Matt is back. Derek's making goofy faces. What is up, boys? Leslie, we missed you, buddy. Now you can help us out because we need you to confirm if we're saying things correctly or not. Like the KHL Gargarin Cup.
Gagarin? Sure, why not? I'll go off what you're saying because I don't even remember that.
See, I don't feel bad. Neither of us knew, and Zach just took the bullet on it, so it's cool. It's not me.
Fair enough.
Well, may the 4th be with you all today. Yes, happy Star Wars Day to all of you Star Wars fans out there. Leslie, yes, glad to have you back though. What's going on, buddy? How you doing?
Well, I'm doing a whole lot better than I was earlier in the week. For those of you who don't know, which I guess is pretty much everyone listening, my dad did have a medical emergency last weekend. He had a seizure while he was running, so he's been in the hospital pretty much ever since last Saturday. The doctors did get in there and do some tests to confirm that he does have a brain tumor. So, yeah, that's what's going on right now. He was not so great on Monday. He was still sedated and everything, but I saw him yesterday. He's awake. He's semi-alert, I guess, but he's awake is the important thing. And the first thing that we were talking about when he woke up was how bad the Islanders' power play is. So that's how I know that he's okay. So that's a good sign. And I agreed with him. It was atrocious. He was not surprised at all that they got eliminated because I think he didn't even know that happened, but I think he found it afterwards. But anyways, yeah, he's been progressing pretty well. And hopefully he'll be back by this weekend. So definitely a scary time for us, but he's recovering now and he's on the up and up. So that's great to see.
Glad to hear that, buddy. Yeah, honestly, really glad to hear that Papa Leslie's doing really good. So, Derek, how are you doing, buddy? I'm sorry you have to you have to follow up with that.
I mean, yeah,
sorry about that.
I really can't complain too much on my end. Leslie, I'm glad to have you back, buddy. I'm glad to hear that Papa Leslie is recovering and doing well right now. I love to hear that nonsense. And I'm just over here with a torn back muscle who's just dying over here, but I guess it could be worse. So I can't really complain. But, besides that, my week has just been filled with pain, so it's been pretty cool. Feel like the drugs are helping a little bit. I'm a little slow today, so bear with me. But it should be fun.
We didn't force him to come into work today. We promise. It was all on his own, medicated or not. So, yeah. As for me, just a normal work week. It's Thursday. We're in the second round of playoffs. It is officially starting off game 2 in the second round of the series. So let's just go ahead and talk about what's upcoming. We got some Red Wings news, around the league news. So we'll talk about the playoffs in there. And then we're going to do Red Wings trades that we could see potentially happening with first round playoff teams that ended up exiting. So after that, we're going to go into a Zach Benson draft profile as well. It's going to be a fun one, boys. All right. Yeah, let's go ahead and kick it off with some Red Wings news. But before I do, for those of you that are returning, thank you for joining us once again. We really do appreciate it. For those of you that are new, thank you for stopping by and joining us. If you could, make sure you're hitting the subscribe button so that way you can stay on top of all the latest news that we have for you guys related to Red Wings and hockey content all over the world. And also, make sure you're all smashing that like button. That really does go a long way for us in the YouTube algorithm. And if you're listening to us on Spotify, we also like that as well. Make sure you're rating us 5 stars, though, and that you're giving us a follow. That really does go a long way for us as well. So, let's go ahead and kick it off with the Red Wings news. Boys, Leslie, our countdown bot. How many more days until the lottery if it's on Monday? And today is Thursday.
Well, the real answer is too many because it should have happened 2 weeks ago. But I believe now it is only 4 days left until the lottery. 4 days left until we have broken hearts yet again, because we all know the results of this. And to be honest, we are trying to figure out if we can live stream this event. But I probably won't show up because I don't think I can take another heartbreak. But yeah, as we get along through the season and we know where our position actually ends up in the draft order, we are planning on doing a mock draft. I don't know when that may come, but stay tuned for that. It will happen at some point before the draft, not too far in the future. But yeah, there's definitely some options if we stay at 9. In fact, the guy we're profiling today, I wouldn't be shocked if he's there at 9. A lot of people have him falling. We'll get into that later. But yeah, there's some good options. And you know what? Whatever happens, happens. Just think about it like that. Whatever happens, happens.
Derek, how excited are you for the draft lottery?
Leslie said it best. I'm ready for a heartbreak. You know, it's like every other year. We're not going to get a good spot, but I'm going to pray that we do. But I'm not going to get my hopes up like every other year. I just got to accept what we get. And if we get anything better than 9, I'll be happy. And if we get anything worse than 12, I'll be very sad. But, you know, 11 through 9, I'm going to be happy with what we get in there. So we'll just see how this goes.
Well, part of me really has high hopes this year for whatever reason. Someone threw out there, and I think it was Ryan Hanna from Winged Wheel podcast, saying that the Red Wings have a really good chance at landing the 3rd overall spot, which is 0.2% chance. Damn nearly a 0% chance. If they could get 3rd somehow, I'm running away with Leo Carlsson, and I will gladly take it. Yeah, Jesus. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm really excited. I won't be disappointed if we get stuck at 9th. I'll be more disappointed if we fall back to 11th, though. I think that's where I'll just end up crying live for you guys to see, and I'll keep my tears in a bottle and send it to all of you for a very cheap price because I'm worthless. All right, so in other Red Wings news, the Toledo Walleye begin their division finals in the playoffs tomorrow, May the 5th, against the Cincinnati Cyclones. They will play in Cincinnati for the first 2 games. Then they will come back starting May 10th to play 3 games in Toledo. And I believe I'm trying to go to the Wednesday game on the 10th. If you guys are interested in going, let me know and I will get us tickets.
What do they call their arena? The Fishbowl? It's got some name.
If you know, tell us in the comments. I have no idea.
Okay, then. Here. Never mind. I call it the Fishbowl then.
So, let's look for the Walleye to close out that series as well. Maybe another sweep. That would be really cool. I'm excited to see potentially Sebastian Cossa play in the playoffs. So, keep an eyes peeled on that. Peter, Leslie, I'm going to need your help. Petr Klima. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce it.
I think it's Klima. I think you're right the second time. It's Klima.
All right. Yeah. My apologies. Rest in peace. Passes away at the age of 58. That's a really young age. He was a Red Wings draft pick back in 1983, who also spent time playing with the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Los Angeles Kings, Pittsburgh Penguins, and with the Edmonton Oilers, who he won a Stanley Cup with in 1990. Sad to hear.
Yeah. He was really one of like the first Czech players to ever come over and play. So it was definitely a big deal when he came over to the NHL, because back then that was still not quite like the height of the Cold War, but you know, the Soviet Union was still around, and I'm not much of a history buff. I did not pay attention in history class, but I do believe that the Czech Republic was also part of the Soviet Union. So for guys like that to come over back then, you know, it was a big thing with the Russian 5-2 and Petr Klima, and really him and like Patrick Elias were like the first true like Czech not superstars, but stars in the league. So yeah, it's definitely sad. 58 is really young, man. I mean, that's crazy. That really sucks to hear. But yeah, rest in peace, and we are keeping his family and friends in our thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, yeah. RIP for sure. Other Red Wings news: Simon Edvinsson underwent successful surgery on his left shoulder on Monday. Derek, we missed that somehow. We didn't talk about that. The recovery time on that is expected to be 4 to 6 months. Leslie brought this up in our group chat. He was the one who actually, I think you were the first one to tell us about it. And you said this opens up the door for a lot of players, not only just prospects, but for players on the roster, and mainly speaking for Ben Chiarot. So before I ask you your thoughts on it, I feel like I have to start off with this one. Does Wallinder or Johansson make a push for that third spot on the left-handed D side, or do they put Chiarot back in that spot instead of being on the right side? And this obviously all depends on what Steve Yzerman does in the offseason. But for right now, let's say he doesn't do anything with the defense. What's your go-to move, knowing that Edvinsson won't be ready at the start of the season? What are you planning on doing there?
Well, I think no matter what happened, even before this Edvinsson injury, I think that Wallinder and Johansson would have both tried to make a push for the roster, and if they were good enough, they were going to be kind of like in that 6th, 7th D position and kind of just rotating in and out. I think definitely now I'm not going to say that there's a spot penciled in for either one of them. They're still going to have to work their balls off in camp to make the team. But, you know, this really, I think the worst case scenario is Edvinsson misses like the first couple of games of the season. I think his prognosis is that he is supposed to be ready for the start of the season. At least that's what I've seen today. I'm not so sure how accurate that is, but yeah, it definitely sucks. This is a big offseason for him. I'm not going to say that this is going to like stunt his development or anything, but this was a really big offseason for him to just work on some things with his strength and conditioning and just kind of get his legs under him and just have a strong training camp before coming into the Red Wings roster. Now he's going to be a little bit cold. I mean, there's still some stuff that he can do conditioning wise to hopefully stay at NHL speed, but he's not going to be practicing on his shot. Just none of that. He's going to be in non-contact in practices, depending on how many practices he even goes into. So we'll see how much he's closely protected. But yeah, it definitely throws a wrench in his plans. It's not ideal. The good news is it happened in the offseason, and it's not another Jacob Verana situation. So thank God for that, because, God, we can't take another one of those in only a 2-year span. That would just be devastating. But I think he's going to be okay. He'll bounce back. He'll be rusty to start the season, but he'll still be there, I think. He's too talented to not be there, and he's already made his impression on the team anyways, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. Just, it'll take him a while to look like the Simon we think he can be.
All right, Derek. I'll say the question again. Do you think Wallinder or Johansson make a push for that third spot on the left-handed D side, or do you think that they put Chiarot back in that spot if Edvinsson does miss time at the start of the season?
I would definitely say he is going to miss time, just because the fact that it's a pretty bad injury and he has a lot of recovery time. I mean, 4 to 6 months, even if he's ready by the end of the season, he's going to have to do a lot of recovery, probably in the AHL a little bit more before he pops up. So I would say they're probably going to start off with Chiarot up there. But of course, the other two are going to be making pushes, and they're going to be showing off in camp and whatnot, and then probably be trying to show off down a little bit in the AHL, where everyone's going to be. I expect Edvinsson probably be the first one to be pulled up, but the other two, depending on how they do, I'm going to guess they're going to get some starts up there. And depending on how they play up in the NHL those couple of times, that's who will actually see take that full-time spot up there. Of course, Edvinsson has a little bit of a leg on top of everybody, but that doesn't mean they can't push somebody else out. So we'll see how the season starts. I do believe Chiarot will probably start off the season, though, just to get it going before everybody gets up and running.
Yeah. I mean, eventually, I think, Chiarot stays with Edvinsson hurt. If he is missing time at the start of the season, which I think I'll have to agree with Derek on that. While yes, you could still be conditioning your legs and everything. And while you might not be able to work on your shot and everything, but like Derek said, I think he'll probably end up spending time in the AHL, kind of spend a couple games trying to get ready with the Griffins, just get warmed up for a little bit, because you didn't get to do anything throughout the whole entire offseason except to work out your legs, work on your speed, your edges, whatever it is. You don't get to work on anything else. So no upper body workouts. That probably does hurt you a lot. So, we saw what happened to Andrew Kopp, who missed the whole entire offseason with the muscle core surgery. He only got 9 goals, and he's a forward, so obviously it's going to be a little different for Edvinsson. I'm not worried overall about him. But yeah, in terms of who's going to take over that third spot, left-handed D spot, I think that's probably going to be Chiarot. And I think if Yzerman didn't get anyone through free agency or through trade to put on the right D spots, you're probably putting Johansson and Wallinder on the right D spots. I can't imagine where you're putting 2 young players, 2 rookies on the bottom pairing together. I just don't see that happening. So yeah, that's kind of how I see it. Another Red Wings news, Anton Johansson signs a 2-year extension with Leksands IF in the Swedish Hockey League. He was drafted 4th round in 2022 with the Detroit Red Wings. He's 6'4", right-handed defenseman, 192 pounds. That's a big boy. In 32 games in the J20 National League, he put up 13 points in those 32 games, and then 1 point, which was 1 goal in 21 SHL games. So that's good to see that the Red Wings do at least have someone who is making their way up in the Swedish Hockey League who does play on the right-handed side, because we literally have no one except for Tuomisto. So yeah, let's just wait and see. Hopefully he pans out. So let's go ahead and jump into the around the league news. Daryl Sutter is relieved of his coaching duties as the Calgary Flames head coach. Huberdeau had some not so nice words about the situation. I guess Sutter was not well liked amongst the players. Are you guys surprised?
You think?
Sounds like Leslie was not surprised. All right, Leslie, go ahead. What do you think about it? You think the players had a reason to be upset or what?
Nah. Hey. Goodbye. Bye, Daryl Sutter. Sucks to suck. At least he's still getting paid for 2 more years. Yeah, it was pretty funny. It kind of felt like the writing was on the wall here. A lot of people were starting up rumors that he was getting fired, and then those rumors were trying to be squashed, saying, oh no, he's still on an extension. It hasn't kicked in yet. Yeah, it doesn't matter if your coach is just a belligerent asshole like Daryl Sutter was. Excuse my language, everyone. But yeah, he was very clearly not well liked in that locker room. And this is pretty much exactly what happened in LA after he won his 2nd cup in 2014. The room pretty much just had a mutiny on him and kicked him out the door. Like, I think management's hands were tied. And it's also worth mentioning that there is going to be a new general manager in Calgary. I don't think we know who it is yet. I think that also led to this decision. But yeah, it was very clear that he couldn't stay there anymore. As soon as Huberdeau went over there, his production tanked. Kadri went over there. He was all right, but his production still kind of tanked. The whole team was just not where they needed to be. And it's one of those classic things where if there's something just not working and you know how to fix it, you got to fix it. And they did.
I don't know if you guys heard what Huberdeau had to say. I actually watched Lego Rocks 99 on YouTube explain it. Then in an article, he was speaking French and it got broken down, and just saying some things about how, yeah, he's just happy that Sutter is not there, and that I don't want him to be my coach. We need a new coach. So, yeah, not surprised. So good on Calgary for doing the right thing, honestly, and hopefully they can turn the ship around, because they should be a playoff team. Granted, they made and lost a lot of good players. They moved a lot of good players, but they got Huberdeau and Kadri and Toffoli.
Myself Toffoli.
And
Yeah, but you know what?
That's it.
I know that there's. I guess yeah,
like
that's
the
pretty much
rooster.
it. They do have a good young goaltender who I don't think is on the team yet, but I really feel like Calgary, they're almost kind of like a ship without a rudder, and they're almost kind of like Winnipeg in a sense where they need to pick a direction. I think it's very clear that with that team, they don't have a whole lot of prospects. I got to think that you got to look at blowing it up. I mean, it's hard to do that when you have Kadri on his deal and Huberdeau on his deal. You're kind of almost forced to just go for it every year based on that. But I could have told you not to sign those deals. I don't know what they were thinking there, but yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see where Calgary goes. Oh, and one guy you didn't mention, one Elias Lindholm, I think would be a great trade target for the Red Wings. Although, from the rules of what we're doing today, we can't pick Calgary because they didn't make it. But I would like to have Lindholm on the Wings. I'll just throw it out there right now. So if they do decide to sell off some players, that's what I'm looking at if I'm Steve Yzerman.
Derek, you got any comments on the coaching decision for Calgary?
I mean, it sounds like he's a real a-hole. So,
Oh yeah.
but I don't know too much about him. Only thing I know is I know Calgary started declining quite a bit once he got there, and that's where my knowledge ends about that team. So listen to the other two on this episode because they know a lot more than me about that.
I mean, that you're spot on though with that. Like the team really did start declining as soon as he came on, and if that's not an indication to move on from your coach, then yeah, I mean, the writing was on the wall, like Leslie said, probably for quite some time too. So, all right, let's go ahead and move on to a conversation or a topic. I mean, that Derek can get involved into with his boy Double R, Ryan Reynolds, and Snoop Dogg both are reported to be in on the Ottawa Senators. Supposedly, Ryan Reynolds is ready to put in a $1 billion offer. Can't imagine what Snoop Dogg's offer is going to be if that's what Ryan Reynolds is putting in. I don't know if anyone, maybe. I don't know if anyone can confirm if they're trying to do it together because Snoop Dogg didn't say what group he was with, but I think Ryan Reynolds has came out and said what group, and I think it's his own, I'm assuming.
To be honest, I know very little about the entire situation, so I'm hoping Leslie is actually typing it up right now. But I do believe that they're separate and not partners, from what I know.
So they're not in together trying to buy it.
I don't believe so. I think it's like a separate bidding. That's why they keep
all right.
no one.
So Snoop Dogg is trying to get in with Nico Sparks. I don't know too much about Nico Sparks. I think he's like he does something with movies. I think he's a producer or something like that. But anyways, he had a bid to buy the Ottawa Senators that I think is around $1 billion, which is pretty much what Ryan Reynolds' offer was. And Snoop Dogg wanted in. I think he has like a youth hockey academy somewhere in California. He does so many things. I just, it's hard to even keep track of it. Like I know he has a youth football team, but he is involved in the game of hockey in some capacity. You know, he goes to LA games a lot. He's a big LA Kings fan. You always see him in the crowd or like in the booth or something like that. I think it would be tremendously important to hockey to get either one of these owners really into the sport, but I'm looking more at Snoop Dogg. I really like the fact that, how do I want to put this? Okay, so basically he went on First Take with Stephen A. Smith and was saying that black ownership in the NHL is a very important thing because that shows like the youth of America that there is an option for you to play hockey if you look like Snoop Dogg and Nico Sparks. I think that's tremendous. I think Snoop Dogg would be a great ambassador to the NHL. I really think that this deal, if he does ultimately buy the Ottawa Senators, this is really what the NHL is looking for. This is the kind of public perception and marketing that they've been lacking for so long. I mean, who's going to market the NHL better than Snoop Dogg? Tell me who. I mean, maybe Ryan Reynolds could do it pretty well.
Maybe Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. I do like both of them, but it would be really cool to see a black owner in the NHL. And I don't think there's too many black owners across sports at all. So that'd be very cool to see. And we'll see if it gets done. It sounds like it has some significant movement, but there is still a bidding war. Who would have ever thought that the Ottawa Senators would be in a bidding war? Not me.
Oh, it's
Well,
no. What? No.
I mean, it's not the craziest thing in the world, right? I mean, like owning a sports team nowadays, I mean, it's you rake in a lot of money no matter who it is. I mean, even the Arizona
doubt.
Coyotes are somewhat profitable somehow, some way. In terms of so I guess if I want to put it this way, in terms of Ryan Reynolds versus Snoop Dogg, who I think would get it, money aside, like if the Ottawa Senators, if they could pick who they wanted to own it, I think it would go more towards Ryan Reynolds only because he's Canadian himself.
I mean,
Overall,
it doesn't hurt to have like a winning record too as an owner with that football team he bought a couple years ago.
Yeah, and he's familiar with owning a professional sports team, so he knows how to run those. Granted, it's soccer/football with hockey, but whatever, same thing. He knows what goes on with that. But I like what Leslie was saying too, is that I do think that Snoop Dogg, and he said this, is that he would then bring, communities that aren't capable to play the game of hockey and help them understand that you can look like me and come and play hockey. Yes, you can look like Snoop Dogg. You can be any color. You can be any gender. You could be anything you want, and you're allowed to play the game of hockey. Don't let anyone tell you that you can't. So, yeah, I think that would be phenomenal for hockey, not only just the NHL, for the sport in general. I think that would just help it grow exponentially, and I think Snoop Dogg would have a great mind, like just a big involvement in the NHL in general, in terms of like, y'all need to start including and doing this stuff, this and that, this and that. I think he would have a strong presence within the NHL, and I think he could definitely help the league in general turn around. And I don't think Ryan Reynolds could really bring that. So, low-key kind of hoping for Snoop Dogg, honestly. So, yeah, good on him.
I did just want to say this one little thing before we move on. I bet you if Nico Sparks and Snoop Dogg end up getting this bid for the Senators, in the next 10 to 15 years, you're going to see an influx of black hockey players. I mean, it's going to happen. Like, sure, there's some already in the league, and I think guys like PK Subban have done a lot to really make that happen. It's not nearly, like, nowadays it's not nearly as, I don't really know what word to use, but it's a lot diverse now than it used to be a long while ago. So, yeah, I really think that Snoop Dogg coming in would really just give a nice injection of just diversity and publicity for the league. It would just be nothing but good.
So let's go ahead and move on to the next topic for the Around the League news. So let's just go ahead and talk about the first games for the second round. Is anyone surprised by the results? You got Seattle leading Dallas, Vegas leading the Oilers, Panthers are leading the Leafs, and the Canes are leading the Devils. I think I'm most shocked that I guess it would have to be Vegas leading the Oilers, but I guess I could say the same thing for Seattle and Dallas. I mean, both those teams that lost had one player scoring 4 goals. That's just nuts.
That was the most shocking to me.
It's the back-to-back consecutive game, 4 goals, 1 player. That's crazy to see, and it just like makes me wonder, what do you expect to go forward with the series here? Like, it can't just be 1 player each time. Obviously, that's not going to work. Even if they do score 4 goals, their teams are still losing. And these are the 2 teams I expected to, not make it past this round. And now they're killing it out there. And then we got Seattle. I mean, didn't expect a 2-year-old team to be the ones beating up Dallas right now. I mean, Joe's back at least, but again, 4-goal guy. What can you do about that? You can't really go much more into it unless you have other people scoring along with you, because you're just not going to win still.
This 4-goal thing to me is just so insane, because This almost to me is like the NHL just being like, oh, did you guys think it was insane that our expansion team and the literal best team in NHL history got eliminated? How about we top ourselves and we have two separate guys score four goals alone and they still lose in the playoffs? I mean, you don't get action like this anywhere else, and this is why we tune into the playoffs. It's absolutely insane. I think out of all these matchups, I guess I'm just surprised to see Florida make it this far, which I guess I shouldn't be too surprised because let me tell you something, boys. The Boston Bruins are the biggest frauds in NHL history. This team is absolutely pathetic. They steamrolled everyone they played all season long, and it amounted in 3 wins in the playoffs? What? Only 3 wins? What? They lost in Game 7 in OT? How did that happen? They're frauds. They're pathetic. All I've seen all over Twitter is all these Bruins fans. They're still crying right now. And let me tell you, keep it up because my bathtub is only half full from your tears, and I would like to bathe in your tears by the weekend. So keep it coming. They're losing all their UFAs because they don't know how to structure their cap at all. And, oh yeah, guess who has their first round pick next year? Us. The Detroit Red Wings. And it's going to be a spicy pick, boys, because they stink.
I guess we have to listen to this rant since he wasn't on the last episode when we had to
get that out
on these teams sucking, like the Colorado Avalanche being a Disneyland franchise. All right.
Oh, that was a nice one.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's watch it be the 2 expansion teams going head to head in the West Coast conference final.
I love it.
Oh, I'm dreaming of it. My one team I still want to play in the playoffs is there. It's not the Red Wings, but number 2's in there at least. And if they make it to the end, you know what? I'm happy. I don't even care. I'm happy. My bracket can be totally shot. I don't even care. Good riddance with it. I'll buy a jersey right after that.
All right. He won't. All right, boys. Let's go ahead into the main event. So let's play a game with the first round losers of the playoffs. Here's the rules. If there was a player from any of the teams that lost in the first round that you would want Steve Yzerman to trade for, who are you trading for? Why are you trading for them? And what are you trading them for? You cannot target players that are not signed with the teams next season, hence defeating the purpose of the trade exercise. So you can only sign players that are still with the team into next season and beyond that. No free agents. So you can't go after someone like Bertuzzi because why trade for him when you can get him in free agency? So let's let Derek go first.
Oh, yay. Well, the good part about what I did, I have like 3 massive long paragraphs with 3 different players. But I forgot there's a little like criteria in there of them having to be kicked out of the playoffs first round. I was like, okay, let's see what I can find in the next 20 seconds while we're live on this. So we're just going to go straight over to the horrific team that had to do amazing during the regular season and just eat crap in the playoffs. Boston. Who I'm going for is not an actual player. Well, he is a player, but not a forward or a defenseman. I'm going for one of their goalies. I want Swayman. And let me tell you, it's going to be an aggressive amount of things we're going to have to give up for that man to come to our team. But if we're looking at Boston right now, they are just a bunch of old guys getting closer and closer to their retirements right now. They're about to lose their captain. Their next best player, their first best player at least is going to be there for a while. Obviously, Pastrnak is not going to be traded because if they do that, they're messing something up over there. They're going to rebuild. But they are just old. And look at Marchand. What is he, 34 now? He's the next one to retire at this point, the little rat-faced motherfucker. But, sorry, that slipped out there a little bit.
No, I love it.
I don't like him anyways. It's okay.
Get more of that.
But they need some talent to come to their team, or they need some younger players, or they need some picks to be able to draft these younger players. So I am going with Swayman on this one. And what I'm giving up for him is, couple arms and a few legs, but I'm going to be up first and second pick of 2023 in the draft.
Wait. Okay. You have to specify which picks they are, please. Are you giving them our first round pick or the Islanders' first round pick?
You know what? For Swayman, I'll give them our first round pick from the Islanders.
Oh.
I know I'm tossing out there, but I feel like this is going to be something good. We need somebody like that for this one. And our second round in 2023.
So
and
our
first
second round pick?
Yep, our second round pick. Our first in 2024. And I'm going to give them Kosa.
What? Whoa. Okay, then.
Excessive?
I was with you until Kosa, and now I'm not so sure about that.
No, I think you had it when... Okay. We probably shouldn't say anything until we say what the results are. So is that what you're offering to Boston for Swayman?
You know, I'll take
give you the benefit
my first
of the doubt
round in 2024.
I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. I will let you wipe this scenario away. You could start clean, try again. That was a little way too much, in my opinion.
You're in left field right now.
Try again, and Leslie and I will roast you after that once you decide what the closing details are. Go ahead.
Closing details for a goalie. Okay.
What does Steve Yzerman offer to give to Boston for a 24-year-old goaltender who is pretty damn good?
This is a hard one now. I feel like I should go either way. I don't know if I should offer more or offer less. Maybe I'll go less on this one. I'll give them our second round in 2023 and our first round. You know, our first round in 2023. Our first round in 2024 and Kosa. Done. Roast me. Give it to me. I don't know.
So the Red Wings 2023 first round pick.
Yes.
And then the Red Wings 24 first round pick.
Yes. And Kosa.
And Sebastian Kosa.
Get a goalie that's going to be good, or you have the goalie that's good Swayman. Now.
All right. Now, okay, so hang on. Consider this, Derek. So if you're going to give up, you said you were going to give up the 2023 Red Wings first round pick?
Yes.
Okay, so you do realize that you could be giving up Connor Bedard right there, right? Because this is still before the draft lottery. That could be literally the next franchise player. I just want to make sure that you want to do that.
I thought our Islanders pick was the one that got the earlier round.
Did you mean to say Islanders pick then?
Oh, is that the later round, the first?
Okay, yeah. so you're offering the Islanders pick. Okay,
thank you.
Islanders 23 first round pick out. So the Red Wings 24 first round pick and Kosa.
So that's a little more palatable. It's still insane, but it's a little more palatable. It's just, I don't know, like goalies are so hard to like figure out a mock trade for because they could fall off the face of the earth next year after signing like an 8-year deal. Like look at Sergei Bobrovsky. I mean, I think he was a free agent, but still.
Twice.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta consider the fact that like Jeremy Swayman, he was very good this year. He had 227 goals average, 920 save percentage. That's really good. You also have to consider the fact that he is coming off his entry-level contract, and you're going to have to sign him, and it's probably going to be a lot, to be honest, if he's coming off a season like that. You have to think about the fact that, is this the best we'll ever see from him? Was he doing this just because he played in front of literally the best NHL team in history, and also the biggest frauds in history, I might add? All that has to go into consideration. I would like to do Jeremy Swayman, but there's no chance I'm giving up Kosa. Like, Kosa's your safety net. If Swayman doesn't work out, you're left without a pot to piss in because you don't have Kosa anymore. I think if you took out Kosa and you just did the picks, I think that gets it done. But what do I know? That's just me.
Hey, you guys know more than me, so let me tell you, it's okay. There's probably 5,000 people. Not really. There's probably like 20 people listening to me saying, what the fuck is wrong with you? but that's okay.
I mean,
We learn things here.
They're probably going to
think,
say that to all of us.
Yeah, we're all probably way off. I think everyone, when it comes to trades, unless you're like using specific sites that like do like trade calculators or just like whatever it is. I mean, I can't remember the last time, when truly was the last time that we saw a young goaltender get traded.
I don't know. They always lock those up, so I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. So like, what would be the price tag for someone who's really only been in the NHL for, I mean, his first season, he played 10 games and he had a 1.5 goals against average and a 945 save percentage. I mean, consistently, I mean, last season, even in 41 games, he's never played more than 41 games in a season. And he's always played on a good Boston team. Yeah, I'm not tossing Kosa in there, Derek. I think you're kind of silly for tossing that in there. I think you if you're trading for Swayman, it's to share the workload with Husso. Eventually, Husso dips off the team, and then you ride Swayman with Kosa being the backup, and then you let those two duke it out for a long time. I think that would be the goal moving forward if you did trade for Swayman. If I'm trading for Swayman, I think it would probably have to be, I would give, see, like, even when I think of goaltenders being traded, I don't, I wish I had time to look this up, but I could be way off. I think maybe even just the Islanders first could probably get it done.
Really?
It probably could.
I think it probably could, only because one, like Leslie said, or whoever said it, they don't have the cap. So if they needed to make cap, I think they would trade Ullmark first before they traded Swayman.
Probably because he's a little bit older.
Long term. I don't think if you traded for Swayman, the price tag is going to be that high. You could probably sign him to like a 5x7. Maybe you can convince him that 5 years by $7 million. And I could be way off on that too, to be honest with you guys.
I'll be honest, everybody, mine will be a lot shorter for theirs. So,
but I think, yeah, I think it might be at first. It all depends. Do you think he could be a true number one goaltender, or do you think he's someone who needs to be on a team where he consistently is the 1A, 1B type of situation where they're swapping back and forth every other game?
Well,
like he's doing with Ullmark here.
With the goalies that we have in the NHL right now, I have no idea. It could be a boom or a bust. It just depends on which season it is.
Yeah, and it's hard to find goaltenders that are consistent Andrei Vasilevskis. There aren't any of those anymore in today's league. So I think if you're going after Swayman, the expectations of him being a 50 to 60 game guy starter in the NHL is very much unknown. And I think the most I'd be comfortable with giving Boston would be either their 24 first round pick back or the Islanders. At least with the Islanders, you know where you're picking with that. Boston's pick, you still don't know yet. So I think I'd rather keep that in the chance that maybe it does pick anywhere from like 10 to 15 or something. So,
well, damn. Sorry, Boston. I offered you a treasure chest, and now
they're taking your deal for sure, Derek. They are running away with that deal. They are trading Ullmark in a heartbeat, and they will wait for Kosa in the next couple years, and they'll have Swayman and Kosa for a long time. So, Leslie, let's go ahead and move on. Let's go ahead and move on to your one trade that from your one team.
You know, I was about to say, if Don Sweeney didn't accept that deal, not only would they fire him, they'd also probably put him in jail. So, all right, there's two different ways that I can go about this because I did write two down. I think I'm just going to go with the bigger one, the one that makes more sense now for the Red Wings as a whole. We all know that Winnipeg is very dysfunctional. Before this trade does get made, I think you need to do your due diligence and make sure that this person will be a good fit for your team, because We know that locker room has many problems, and we don't know the root of it. But nevertheless, I'm going to trade for Kyle Connor from Winnipeg for the Islanders' first-round pick this year, Vancouver's second-round pick this year, and Albert Johansson. Do you think that's enough to get it done? I personally do. I could see Winnipeg wanting a little more than that, maybe a roster player, but I think that's substantial enough to get it done, and I think this is probably the best move that Yzerman can make right now, given the state of the team.
What do you think, Derek? I'll let you go first.
Pulling them up right now and to take a peek at everything, honestly. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good thing to have on our team right now. Oh, look, there goes a dog. Ignore that, everybody. But yeah, I'm again, like I told you guys, I'm going to be short and sweet because I know jack shit about anything about trades. But I would definitely I'd go with what maybe another little sprinkle in there or something. Maybe like a second or a third next year too. But otherwise, I would say what Leslie said, pretty good deal, and that's definitely somebody we could use on our team. Probably a little bit more than Swayman over here.
I think it would have to be more, Leslie. I think the Red Wings. If
I'd have to agree.
If the Winnipeg Jets came to the Red Wings and said, "We will give you Kyle Connor if you give us this," what you offered, I think the Red Wings would say yes in a heartbeat.
Yeah,
the Red Wings offering that, I think that's a little less than what they want. I think Winnipeg isn't ready for the rebuild yet, and I think that they're a team that probably wants to retool. And by retooling, I think they want to find another team that also has a player that puts up similar to Kyle Connor. And they just want to do an old-fashioned hockey trade that way. So I think if you want to pry Kyle Connor, a 40-goal scorer from Winnipeg, I think you're adding a Raymond, a Casper, or an Edvinsson in that trade. And probably a first. Probably the Islanders first. Probably a second or two. And I think that's what you're going to have to get Winnipeg to answer your call if you offer one of those three top prospects in that trade.
You know what? We'll start with Leslie, then we'll move up.
So, I respectfully disagree. Alex Brinkett was traded for a similar return last year at the draft, and Alex Brinkett is younger and was also a 40-goal scorer. I think maybe that's on the low side. If I'm Winnipeg, I'm asking for Casper Edvinsson. Like, there's no doubt that I'm going to do that. But if you are on the phone with Steve Yzerman and you ask for Casper or Edvinsson, he's gonna slam the phone on you. That's not going to happen. It may be on the low side. The thing is, like, there's a lot that Steve Yzerman can sprinkle on here and make it a lot more of a lucrative offer. I think he could offer up one of the younger roster players, like maybe a Joe Veleno. I think that could get it done. He could throw in Philip Zadina. I think that gets it done. Maybe even the both of those gets it done. I don't really know. I think that if Winnipeg wants to retool, if they're just not going to get that kind of trade that you said, no one is stupid enough to do a trade like that anymore. And you're really hard pressed to even find a partner out there who would even consider that. I don't know. I just feel like if I'm the GM of Winnipeg, I need to look at everything that's been going on within the locker room and just the whole outlook of the team, not only next season, but 5-10 seasons in the future. You need to determine what's best for the team. I think this team needs to blow it up. They're going nowhere fast. The coach pretty much has turned on the room. They don't really have the benefit of time on their side. Like, they need to do it. A guy like Kyle O'Connor, he definitely comes at a premium. It's probably not going to be that trade. I'm going to be completely honest with you. The nice thing is, though, that Steve has a lot of things he can add to it to make it seem a little more palatable.
Yeah, I just think overall, while Kyle Connor only went for a first and a second, that first was an 8th overall pick. And so the second was a pretty good picking spot too in the draft. And Kyle Connor overall is a bigger and more talented player, points wise in general too. While DeBrincat has put up more 40 goal seasons, Kyle Connor is a little more consistent in that regard.
He's also been playing longer in the NHL.
By a year.
Well, there you go. That's one more year of evidence.
Okay. Sure, I guess. But Kyle Connor also didn't play with Kane or Taves either. So, yeah, Kyle Connor, maybe, yeah. But, yeah, I would love to have a Kyle Connor on the team. I would also like a Jeremy Swayman.
The deal's worth it. It's worth it to kick the tires on. It may not be Kyle Connor, but it's got to be someone near that caliber.
If I were Steve Yzerman and Winnipeg accepted your original offer, great value for the Red Wings, in my opinion, I think. So
honestly, if anyone's going to get that kind of return, it's Steve Yzerman. Like, yeah, that's the guy there. I mean, if it's the 9th overall pick that's going over and another first either next year or this year, I'm okay with that too. I don't really care. I think this draft is very deep, but if you're getting a Kyle Connor now who can score you, like he's guaranteed to score 30 next year, maybe even more than that. I mean, you got to do that. That's way more important to your team now based on whatever else is there in the draft, in my opinion.
So it's my turn. And to be honest, I really didn't have any trades written down. I wanted to wait and see what Derek and Leslie said because I didn't want to have the same players as they did. So really, I'm pretty much open to anyone. And after thoroughly looking through all the players that and this player hasn't even been tossed out there, and I don't think that this would ever happen. And the boys will probably agree with me on it that it probably won't. But if I was Steve Yzerman, I am going after my former team, the Tampa Bay Lightning, and I am what?
McDavid?
No. McDavid's still in the playoffs, you silly goose. No, I think if I were Steve Yzerman, I'm targeting Braden Point at any.
Ooh.
I think that's what I'm doing.
I'm thinking about that too.
I look at how many picks they have. They have no first round picks in probably the next 5 years. I don't even know because it only lets me see for the next 3 years. They don't have any second rounds for the next 2 years. They just got knocked out of the first round of the playoffs.
Is it rebuild time?
Or I don't know. Time? No, I think this is restructure time, considering the fact that Steven Stamkos is only 33, Nikita Kucherov is 29, Cirelli's 25, and then they got a couple other players, and then you look at their defense, you still got a 32-year-old Victor Hedman, Mikhail Sergachev is 24. I mean, that could possibly be a player that you look at as well, but if only he was a right-handed shot. He's left, unfortunately, so I'm probably not going to target him. But I think Yzerman would probably look at a Braden Point. That's a team who needs cap. They have no picks. Only so often can you... I mean, they just got knocked out of the first round. Last season, they lost in the Cup final, so old veteran players I don't think are going to want to keep coming to a team for the last 2 seasons that has kept on getting knocked out. So they're kind of lost in that area. Next season, they have $2.4 million at their helm that they can use for free agents, and they have to sign a decent amount of contracts. So yeah, Braden Point, and I think I'm offering the Islanders first. I'm offering our first in 2024. I'm offering Boston's first in 2024. And then probably Joe Veleno. Yeah, give him Philip Zadina.
I'll give him Zadina for free.
And then you probably have to throw in another prospect, probably like Albert Johansson. So you're getting 3 first-round picks. And I think I threw in a second. Veleno, Johansson, and then you could throw in Zadina in there as a sweetener. So you're getting 3 first-round picks, a second, and 1 and 2.5 prospects. So that's probably not even enough. I'm probably underselling it, but if I were, I think it would be hard for Tampa to say no. While granted, it is Braden Point, it would be hard to sell on Braden Point. But I think at some point, a team like this who has won back-to-back Stanley Cups, if you want to keep winning them eventually, if you eventually want to keep being like how Boston has, how they've stayed relevant for so long, where they just don't make it to whatever for 3 years and then all of a sudden they make it back in like the 5th year. If that's how Tampa wants to be, then yeah, eventually you're going to have to trade off on one of these better players to get other players on cheaper contracts and bring in some youth. So,
well,
rebuttals?
Yeah, it's a good start. I'll give you that. Okay, so let's run through it again. You're giving both first-round picks next year, Islanders pick this year, and a second, Johansson and Zadina. Is that correct?
Veleno, Johansson.
Oh, and Veleno, yeah. Okay. Yep, that's definitely a start. Well, I'm gonna just go through some things here. So, Braden Point this year, finished with 51 goals and 44 assists for 95 points. That's insane. I didn't even know that he scored 50 until I looked up his stats. A 50 goal scorer pretty much will clear out your cabinet of picks and prospects. So, yeah, you're at a good start. And also, I should mention that Braden Point is only 27 years old. I don't know exactly what his contract situation is. Okay, so he's signed until 2030, it looks like. So, basically, you're going to get him for 2030 on the Red Wings. Tampa is not going to do this deal unless your offer is basically the moon. Like, they're not going to do this because he's locked up, and they're figuring that he's going to be the next franchise guy after, like, Hedman and Stamkos retire. Like, he is probably going to be the Stamkos replacement in Tampa Bay, and they can then build another team around him as the core and go on another cup run. So, essentially, you're trading... If you're Tampa Bay, you're trading your most important player to the Red Wings. You've got to ask for a lot more than that. I got to be honest with you. You never know.
Kucherov is the most important player on that team.
What's that?
You don't think Kucherov's more important than Point?
I think Kucherov is a little older too, so he might even be gone
by 2 years.
Yeah, so Kucherov might still be there. I guess it kind of all depends on what happens with that core. But I don't know. I mean, yeah, if Braden Point goes, you still have Kucherov. But if I'm Tampa Bay, I'd rather have both of them. You know what I mean? Unless it's just way too good to pass up. Me personally, you need to throw in a guy like... You need to throw in a Marco Kasper. I'm trying to think of what else we have. You might have to throw in like a... Shit, you might even have to throw in Rasmussen. I mean, you're going to have to throw in a lot here. You're going to have to lump up the cabinet. Maybe you could trade Kasper and Raymond and keep everything else. Like, they'll probably want Raymond for him. Like, they're going to want a young star to replace him on top of everything else. Yeah, I guess this is just why they're mock trades. Like, we don't really know. Like, the GM of Tampa Bay is kind of clinically insane. He traded the entire future for Tanner Jeannot. So I don't really know what's going to happen down there, but if you're going to draw up a mock trade for Braden Point, that's a good jumping off point. And I'm sitting here ridiculing you, but it's probably not too far off, to be honest. But yeah, you're going to need to include Kasper, and another young star, which that could be Veleno, that could be Zadina. You never know. But yeah, you're going to need to throw the farm at them.
Yeah, it's always tough for me to throw out our big name prospects because I said the same thing for Winnipeg, and Leslie's right. You probably will need to throw out one of those names, and throwing out names like, no offense to players like Zadina or Veleno, but those are not players that are going to get trades done. I mean, you could throw them in there all you want, but they don't have as much value as we like to think that they do.
Their whole value was upside. That's it.
Yeah, and
which may not
and
be
if
there.
Tampa is willing to move on from Braden Point, it's not to get more money because they feel like that they're cap strapped. They could figure out other ways to do that. Leslie's right in that aspect. So it all depends on how they wanted to go about it. I think at a good starting point, I mean, it would probably be, you're probably looking at Casper, our 9th overall pick, and then probably the Islanders, and then probably a couple seconds if you truly did want to get it done. That's another scenario there for you guys. So if you guys want to speculate down in the comment section with us, go ahead and do that. You know, we would love to hear your mock trade ideas with some first round exit playoff teams as well. So yeah, go ahead and leave those down there, and we'd love to chat with you guys about that. Derek, do you approve of that trade, or do you think that's a little too little? Sleepyhead?
I'd say it's a close start for any other GM that's not Tampa Bay's GM right now. Like Leslie said, he's kind of crazy. Oh, wow. I turned mute off and they finally start barking again. Good job. But like, if he's the craziest I think he is, he might just give us 2 first-round picks, Rasmussen, and maybe Mazur, and then we'll get away with him. But if he's any other sane GM, obviously your proposal I would say is pretty close. I'd probably throw Mazur in there on top of everything like you guys were saying, and that'll possibly get the job done. But at the same time, you're going for a player that's going to be a franchise player for them. And like Leslie said, you snag that contract, you bring him over to your team to, again, be your franchise player. Basically another Dylan Larkin on the team. Wouldn't be a bad thing to have. Let me tell you, I'd love to have him. I don't even know which one I'd have on the first line, second line pairing right there, but I'd say that would definitely help our team out quite a bit. Definitely make a nice little playoff run at that point, having him on there.
Yeah.
Again, I have no idea technically what it would take to get him. All I know is if you have a sane GM, you're going to be getting a lot in return for that, especially if you're Tampa with 0 first or 0 second round picks. You're going to be asking for a lot of picks at that point, probably.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Before I move on, I just want to say that, if you have, as Derek put up, if you have a 1-2 punch at center of Larkin and Point, you could probably go on a cup run with that. That trade would literally change your entire franchise outlook. And just knowing what Braden Point is and what he probably will still be for the rest of that contract, I'm kind of okay with giving up a lot of assets for it. It's just, if this was 2 years ago, I would be saying you're insane to give up draft picks and players and everything like that. But given where the Red Wings stand at this point and all the young talent that they have and their prospect pool, they really are just missing that one piece. And Braden Point would answer that. So it'll be worth looking into. I don't know if it could get done, but it would definitely be worth looking into for sure.
Yeah, and I think if you're trying to take advantage of any team that is cap strapped, I think that you have to do it this year before next year when cap truly does. So not next season, I'm talking about next off season, before the cap truly does make that jump up. It's expected to go up $1 million this year. The next season, I think it's projected to go up. Hold on, let's see. On projected on Cap Friendly, it's supposed to jump up by potentially $4 million from 83.5 to 87.5. So yeah, you want to take advantage now while you can. And I think Yzerman's in a good spot to do that with any team, whether if that's Tampa Bay or not. So keep your eyes peeled on that. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into our draft prospect profile of Winnipeg Ice's Zach Benson. For those of you who do not know, he is 5'10", 159 pounds, left-handed winger, according to Elite Prospects. All hail Magic Conch for our chances of potentially getting Zach Benson at 9th overall, if that is where we do land in the draft lottery, which, yes, all hail Magic Conch. He's ranked anywhere as high as 4th in the draft and as low as 9th in majority of the mocks I have seen. I will be shocked if he makes it all the way to 9th, but if he does, it's going to be due to his size alone. And a couple players that come to mind. Most recent, Cole Caulfield. The other one, Alex DeBrincat. We literally just talked about him. 2 players that went later in their respective drafts than they probably should have, all due to their size, especially DeBrincat, who made it all the way to basically the beginning of the second round, and he got picked. I can't remember if the Red Wings got to pick before or after Chicago took him, but I was definitely really upset that we did not take him. Yeah, he'll most likely play in the NHL as a top 6 winger. Currently plays with the Winnipeg Ice in the WHL, like I said. In his 60 games this season, he put up 98 points, 36 goals, 62 assists. In the 10 playoff games this year, he put up 12 points, 4 goals, 8 assists. Yeah, at first glance, I mean, he's pretty much just like another Cole Caulfield or an Alex DeBrincat. And he's just going to fall in the draft due to his size. So I don't know when NHL teams are going to learn, but if he does slip all the way to 9th, yeah, I think I would be very happy if Steve Yzerman ran up to that podium and said, "We are drafting Zach Benson, 5'10" phenom out of the Winnipeg Ice." Comparing to his stats from last year, in 58 games, he put up 25 goals, 38 assists for 63 points. So, yeah, he put up 35 more points this season than he did last season. So glad to see that there was improvement there. He also got to play with some notable players that were drafted last season as well on the Winnipeg Ice team, like Matthew Savoy, Connor Geekie as well, Carson Lambos, and a couple other ones on there as well. So now that he's finally taken the reins of the team, him and Matt Savoy actually are pretty close in points this season on the team. So some might consider him better than a Matt Savoy, which is good to see, honestly. So that just shows you even more how deep that this draft is. Enough about me, enough hearing about Zach Benson from me. Why don't I pass it along to Derek and Leslie? Boys, give me your in-depth knowledge on Zach Benson here.
Well, I was going to say, if we we're going to talk about you, I know a little bit more on that side. But since we're actually talking about Zach Benson, like, he's a fantastic player. Like, you can't say much bad about him. I mean, I do have a couple downsides in there because I can't put the sprinkles on everybody at all times. But he's a fantastic player who has a great understanding of the game itself. He can read the plays. He can make calculated decisions, especially in the offensive zone. Sprinkles first, then I'll put the poo underneath. It's okay. But, like, the only downside to him really is he's really not too explosive out there. He doesn't have that speed you would really want. But the good thing is he has the offensive knowledge and know-how of the game to literally just skate through everybody, make sure people don't hit him. So it doesn't really seem like his speed is going to be too much of a factor. I mean, the other thing, obviously what Zach said, his size, 160 pounds. He might get tossed around quite a bit in the NHL, but he's 17 still right now. I think his birthday is literally in a week or something like that. And he's only going to get bigger. I say if he tosses like another 25, 30 pounds by the time he gets into the show, it's going to be doing wonders for him. He will float around. He'll probably build up some speed in the meantime because it's probably only going to be muscle. So, I mean, there probably will be better players in the draft. Like, not better players, I would say better point production players in the draft that will probably get picked after him, who will probably get more points in their career in the NHL. But I think it's just because of his know-how and knowledge of what the game is. He might not have the massive amount of points everyone might see, especially, 110 points this season. That's crazy, but I don't feel like he might get that high. But it's just the skill and knowledge he brings to the game. I think that's going to do a nice transition for whatever team he's on. He's going to bring a lot of extra talent to where it needs to be, wherever he actually gets placed.
Well, I'm going to start off by saying that Zach Benson is not going to be a Red Wing, and I'll give you two good reasons. Number one, he's way too talented to be there at number 9. And number 2, even if he does somehow fall to number 9, the Wings aren't going to take him there. And I'll tell you exactly why. This is the type of player that we know for a fact that Steve Yzerman passes on in the first round. Like, sure, you can compare him to Braden Point, although Braden Point's a center, but he's still undersized, and Braden Point was taken in the later rounds. I think Zach Benson's production is very, very good. I mean, he's playing on a loaded Winnipeg Ice team. Like you said, Zach, that all those guys that you mentioned, they're probably going to be everyday NHLers in a few years. I don't really have any questions about Benson's production. I think he's going to pick it up when he gets to the NHL. He might get bounced around a little bit. I guess that kind of depends on what team he goes to and who he has around him. And that's part of why I say he won't be a Red Wing, because we all know that this team lacks that grit and that toughness that you really, really need to compete the NHL and the playoffs beyond that. So they can't take Zach Benson and have him sheltered there in Detroit. I don't know who's even going to do that. Like, if Bertuzzi was still on the team, he might be able to do that, but he's gone. And he's probably not coming back. Yeah, the Caulfield comparisons and the DeBrincat comparisons are good ones. I'd like to point out that those are two players that Yzerman passed on. Also, Savoy, too, is a good comparison. Marco Kasper is the pick before Matthew Savoy. You see what I'm getting at here? I really think he's going to be a tremendous player. I think he has all the upside in the world. I think about a team like Montreal. I think they're picking 5 or 6. I don't remember exactly where they are. That seems like a Montreal player right there. I mean, they took Cole Caulfield after he slid, and look at Caulfield now. He probably will put up 50 this year if he didn't hurt his shoulder. This is a Montreal pick. He has Montreal written all over him. He might as well start learning French right now is what I'm saying. But, yeah, I like Zach Benson, the player, but I also don't run the team and make the decisions at the draft. That's left up to Steve Yzerman. So he's not taking him, but it'd be cool if he did. It'd be really cool if he did. He would be a very exciting player on the Red Wings. He'd probably be leading the team in goals in the next 4 or 5 seasons. I don't think that's crazy to say. But, yeah, if he's there at 9, I think Yzerman has other options that he wants.
Yeah, I personally don't think he'll fall at 9. Some more things to go off of, like what you boys said though with him. He's got some really good hockey IQ. He knows where to be at on the ice, whether if he has the puck or he doesn't. Plays some really nice defense for someone his size. Like Derek said, he's not the fastest player, and he's definitely someone who could work on his skating a little bit. Definitely needs to put on some strength, 160 pounds. Let's see if we can get you to 190 somehow. 185 minimum, maybe, by the time you make it to the NHL, please. Just really needs to stop trying to force plays as well. It's kind of like the same thing with Zach Benson. Just trying to be a little too cute, I think. I think he's just trying to do a little too much. Just try to simplify it a little bit more. You'll be able to figure it out as you go along. But great shot. He's a goal scorer. He's a playmaker too. He knows how to make great plays. I think he competes really well. I think he's a hockey player. I think he fits Yzerman's mold in that aspect. In terms of size, no, he doesn't. But we have a lot of big players already. Eventually, I think you have to go not just by looking at his size, but I think, can he play hockey? Like, you have to start doing those. And it's the same thing with I'm not trying to change the sport here, but the Detroit Lions just did it too. Can these players play football? They drafted some very questionable players, but they know how to play football. And that's what we have to do, is wait and see how they do on the field. So Zach Benson is probably one of those players. And it was the same thing with Cole Caulfield. Cole Caulfield lit up the league as soon as he got called up. And he just kept on bouncing around because he was just kind of hosed around for a little bit. That's why, not because of what he wasn't doing, but because what he was given to do, it kind of screwed him over in that in that aspect. So I don't think Zach Benson falls to us. I think he gets taken before 9 if we do get to pick at 9. A couple teams that I could see taking him, and it just all depends on where they fall. If Chicago picks 5th, maybe, but I think that that's possibly like Will Smith, Matvei Michkov land, but it all depends on which area that they go into. The Sharks, I don't think Montreal would go after him, Leslie, only because they already have Cole Caulfield. They probably need more center help than anything. I think that that's a prime spot where they could probably reach for a right-handed defenseman as well. I think they need help on defense. They also, so not only do they have Caulfield, they have Slavkovsky. So I think that they just need more center depth in general. But I like where your idea is going with that for sure. It would make sense. So I wouldn't put it past them. Maybe they do that. And then the Flyers are always making random choices with their picks. Nolan Patrick.
They're so weird. They're such weirdos.
Washington Capitals too. Who knows what they're going to do with their pick?
Yeah, I could see him be a Capital. I think that's a great pick for them. I mean, they have the best goal scorer in NHL history right now. Why don't they go get an Ovi Jr. and Zach Benson?
I don't know about you guys, so I might as well ask this question. Do you guys think Zach Benson has a chance to make an opening night roster for any team that picks him? If it's the Red Wings, I don't think so. In general,
probably not.
I don't think so either.
No, I'm saying no for everything. I mean, if he's at the size that he is right now and he doesn't put on muscle, he's going to get manhandled out there. There's no way he can start right away. He probably has another year of junior, and I don't know. He's pretty talented. Maybe he could just come right out of junior and play, but he definitely needs to put on size. That's the biggest thing going against him, which I think he can do. Just get with some strength and conditioning. No, that stuff is not hard. When you're young, you can bulk up. So that's really, in my mind, all he needs to work on. Maybe a little bit more compete, I guess. But that's kind of just that comes with the territory when you're in the NHL. So
I think that's it.
I like it.
No one else has it. No, that's it on Zach Benson. All right, that's cool with me.
That's about it.
Just wanted to make sure no one else had anything else they wanted to say on him. But yeah,
I did have one more thing.
Okay.
I did have one more thing. You talk about Montreal not having center depth. I just want to point out that one Pierre-Luc Dubois would be playing for the Canadiens right now if it weren't for those pesky little things called contracts. So I'm pretty sure he's going to be a Hab maybe next year, if not the year after that. So there you go. All of a sudden they have center depth. So I think a winger like Zach Benson would be a perfect pick for them.
All right. Well, if Montreal can predict the future somehow, maybe that's their route of doing things. So let's wait and see. Other than that, yeah, that's it for us today. What's upcoming? The draft lottery, honestly. So
Hour of Sadness.
I think off screen, the boys and I will try to decide whether if we're going to do a recording the night before. I think we're probably going to do a mock draft, whether if that's the night before of the draft lottery, or if we do somehow figure out how to go live, then we'll do a mock draft during the live session as well. Derek's being very loud, taking off his microphone. So we'll do that. We'll talk about that. And then I don't think we'll do another prospect profile in the next episode. So yeah, I guess just wait to see what we end up doing. We'll let you guys know on our socials. So if you guys haven't noticed, and I probably should have mentioned this beforehand, but let me know what you guys think about our new overlay that I created for us. I made sure that I added all of our socials. They are at the top right corner, as you guys can see there. Made everything a little bit brighter, made our names a little bit bigger. The boys didn't know this, and they obviously can't see it right now. So it's going to be a fantastic surprise for them when they do get to see it. So yeah, like I said, we got a lot of fun, exciting things that we have coming up for you guys. We are also in the giveaway mood. Stay tuned for giveaways upcoming, boys and girls. I think our demographic is mainly men, but ladies, start watching our show.
If you like it, you like it.
Anyone can play hockey.
I know two that watch it.
So, final thoughts, Derek.
I'm so tired right now that I'm barely keeping my eyes open, but let's see who wins tonight. I'm pretty excited about these couple next games to see which way the Toronto does with Florida, the way the Seattle does with Dallas, Vegas with Edmonton. Those are really the only games I'm caring about right now. And, Carolina is just going to wipe the floor with New Jersey, it seems, apparently. So I really don't care too much about that. But I'm just... If anyone wants to jump on the Vegas bandwagon with me, I wouldn't say it's a bandwagon since I've been there since, they started. Zach, I guess you're there too a little bit, so I'll throw you in there. Leslie?
You guys are both on
a little bit? We were in the same room when we agreed. Oh my God.
Wow, he's trying to box you out,
Zach was there at the beginning too. But Leslie, you're welcome to join if you only get rid of your Islanders bandwagon. You just have to drop
I got rid of it the minute they got eliminated. What are you even talking about right now? Why would I bandwagon a team that's dead in the ground and buried?
You stick on that bandwagon until next year's playoffs, my boy.
Not a chance, dude.
You got
not a chance.
I'm sorry.
I'm like a flea. I hop from victim to victim. That's not going to happen. I'll tell you what bandwagon I am on right now because I have a future bet on them. The Florida Panthers, baby. Wow, my Cats. They're winning right now.
Let's go.
We are not responsible for poor betting choices that you make based on what we say that we do. So do not take our picks.
These bets, so don't listen to us. I have not won one in like a month.
I will say though that it's still good value. So maybe take a flyer on it.
All right, Derek, are those your final thoughts, buddy?
Those are my for you. You guys go.
Leslie.
Yeah, it's been one hell of a week. A week I want to forget for sure and put behind us. I guess my final thoughts are to any of our listeners and also the both of you. I know you're in close contact with your family, Zach, but if you haven't talked to your folks in a while and haven't seen them in quite a bit, give them a call, see what's going on with him. Maybe try and come back home for the weekend and see him because you never truly know what's going to happen. He's going to be okay. He's going to recover, but it was out of left field, and you just never know what life is going to throw at you. So definitely let your loved ones know you're thinking about them and that you love them, and just, while you have them here, keep them close to your heart. And that's about it. What else did I want to say? Let's go Panthers, I guess, because they're winning right now, and I could make a pretty fat stack of money if they win. So let's go Panthers.
My final thoughts are, I bet that those probably weren't Leslie's final thoughts, but I'll continue talking anyways, and he'll probably say something after I'm done. But my final thoughts are, the Panthers are beating the Toronto Maple Leafs 3-2 right now, heading into the third period. It is 9:08 p.m. on May the 4th. Be with you. Go Red Wings. Thanks for tuning in with us once again. For those that are returning, for those of you that are new, thanks for joining us. Make sure you're hitting that subscribe button. Make sure you're liking the video as well. So smash that button. And if you're on Spotify, make sure you're rating us 5 stars as well. Go Red Wings. Those are my final thoughts. We love you guys. Bye, everyone. Take care.
I love you guys so much.